So you're thinking about moving to San Diego and you want to know the top neighborhoods people are moving to that are near San Diego. Well, that's what we're diving into today, from top coastal neighborhoods to top for outdoor living, up and coming, top suburban neighborhoods, top budget friendly neighborhoods, and then we're going to dive into a hidden gem at the end. So let's get into it right now. All right, so today we are covering anything outside of the city of San Diego. You can see the city of San Diego highlighted right here, and it's going to include some areas you might have heard of when you are researching San Diego, but they are actually within the city of San Diego. You have La Jolla, Carmel Valleys, you have Rancho Penasquitos. As you zoom in to downtown, this is where you're flying into right here. The airport down here, but you have your North Parks, you have your Little Italys, you have some surrounding areas. You have Mission Valley right up here, Serra Mesa, Claremont. All of those areas are within the city of San Diego. So we will make a future video. If you guys want, drop a comment below if you want to hear the top areas people are moving to within there. But first up, we're going to go to the top city for outdoor living, and we're going to jump into Poway here. Poway is just east of the 15 freeway, so you're going to be pretty far inland here. Now, Poway has a few different types of living. As we zoom into the satellite view, a lot of it is going to be centered around this section here. As you go to the outskirts, you'll see it's a little more sparse out there. Jumping into kind of the central area of Poway, let's go just into Old Poway right here. And if you've ever been to Poway, you might have been to this Old Poway Park and a little railroad that cruises around the park right here. And so this area and the surrounding area, you're going to find a lot of this style home, where you're going to have a smaller footprint home here. You're going to have a lot of single-story homes. Poway has a ton of single-story homes right in here. A lot of them are built in like the 70s, 80s, that kind of zone. But a lot of this style of living in here. And while it's not the top budget-friendly neighborhood, we will get into that in a little bit, it is somewhat more budget-friendly than some of the other ones as you go more coastal. So talking about a little bit about the outdoors. Now, Poway, as you can see up here, is a little more spread out as you go out to the east. You do have some space out here. You have some of the bigger hikes in San Diego County that you may or may not have heard of. You have Iron Mountain right over down here to the south, to the central area of Poway. You're going to see right down here where it says Lake Poway, you have the Potato Chip Rock Trailhead. So this is one of the more popular trails right here in pretty much all of San Diego. It's actually on my list of trails because this year I've been doing a lot of trails, which I've hit. I'll show you a few more that I've hit right around here. So there is more hiking than obviously just this, but this is on my list for this year. So one thing about trails too, especially all these popular trails, I was at a trail on, when was it? On Sunday. And it was Daily Ranch up in Escondido. Was going out there and was, left my house pretty early. I got up there at 7. The entire parking lot was already full. The side parking was already full. You'll see a lot of people are super active here in San Diego. So even these hikes, like obviously it was a beautiful day and it was a weekend, but I thought I would beat the crowd a little bit, but I did not beat the crowd. So anyways, as you're cruising up, you can go up the trails here and go up to Potato Chip Rock. And it's just the iconic rock here that you see. Once you get up here, I heard there's a big line. So, it's kind of a line to get up to take this picture. But nonetheless, a lot of people do that. I'll report back once I actually do go to Potato Chip Rock out there. But also, like I mentioned, you're going to have access to a lot of other hiking right around this little area of San Diego. So let's pop in hiking right here, and you'll see a bunch more pop up where you do have just, Mount Woodson trailheads like Iron Mountain. You have the Twin Peaks. You have, where did I go the other day? Lake Hodges is actually a really fun hiking area too. I've discovered some more trails. Even though I've lived here my whole life, I've found some more trails. And there's a bunch more that aren't popping up in here too. Penasquitos Canyon Trailhead goes down the preserve right here. So you're just going to find a lot. Let's see if we zoom in, and a few more are going to pop up in here. So you get a lot of these access to outdoor areas. But as we're going through this too, it's super important. If you guys do want to be near trails, if you want to be near outdoors, it's important to know what areas would feed into there. So if you do want some of that and dive into your specific situation, you got to reach out. You could hit us up and we could start that conversation and get you dialed in these kind of neighborhoods. But we could see here the central area, like I mentioned, This is kind of old Poway. That's kind of a little more dense. But Poway is known as the city in the country. So it's kind of small town living out here. You're not going to find a ton of, ton of infrastructure. Down to the south here, right off Poway Road, is where you're going to find the bulk of your shopping, your stores, all that kind of thing. You have the Lowe's here, you got your Walmarts. And as you circle out, just talking about some of that rural area, once you get into some of these areas out here, you're a little bit elevated up on the hill. You're going to find it's a bit more rural up here. The further east you go, a little bit more spread out it gets. You can see some beautiful views as you're getting up on the hill up here, looking kind of down into, that's kind of that old Poway, right down that way. But even looking out, some of these are going to be little places to get outside and explore as well. And then at that base where we did start that hike, you do have Lake Poway right here. So you can see where it's popping up. They have the summer concert series in the park. And so in Lake Poway, you do have this, the grass area here. You can get a little boat, cruise out there. You're not doing like, wakeboarding or any of that kind of stuff out here. You can cruise out there, go fishing, that kind of thing. One thing I did just see pop up on Instagram, there's actually a little spot to grab a little coffee right here. You can see it popping up right there. So get a little coffee, overlook the lake. It looked like a cool little spot to check out. Now, before we get into the next one, which is the top coastal area people are moving to right here in San Diego or near San Diego, we're going to show you real quick how far, if you're living out here, how far it's going to take you. Let's just go Old Poway. It's kind of in the center portion to get to the beach. So usually people are asking, okay, what beach is the best beach? Now, it's usually going to be the closest beach to you. So you're going to shoot down the 56 freeway. You're probably going to end up somewhere in, potentially, if you go hiking, actually another great outdoor hiking area. But let's just go to Torrey Pines Straight Beach. It's a straight shot. It's going to get you right there, give you an idea of how far you're looking at. So even out here, you're looking at 24 minutes. Now, during certain times, yes, you're going to get busier. But, usually within that 30-minute mark, if you go a little further out, a little longer, obviously, but you're still within that 30-minute range of the beach. And one other thing about Poway, people love the school districts out there. A lot of people do want to move to this area, and there's a few other areas right around here that aren't necessarily in Poway, but feed to Poway school districts. So if you want those, definitely hit us up. But the next one is one of the top coastal areas people are moving to, and it's in North County, San Diego. And you'll see Carlsbad right here. And Carlsbad's about a little more than double the size of Poway, where you have about 48,000 residents in Poway. In Carlsbad, you're looking about 114,000, so a little more than double. And while Poway doesn't have necessarily a ton of areas that are, distinct areas, this area right here of Carlsbad, you have somewhat of a more of a distinct area where you can actually divide it into about 4 different zones. And when we make videos about Carlsbad, we divide it into these areas where you have kind of the Carlsbad Village area right here. You have Calavera Hills area back here. You have the La Costa area back here. And then you have Aviara here. Now, there's going to be different areas and different neighborhoods within all these, but it's a little bit more distinct than some of the other areas that we are going to cover today. And so one thing, having those 4 different areas, there's a lot of different styles of living. There's a lot of different ages when these homes were built. So some were built back in the same as kind of those Poway single-story homes in the 60s and 70s. When you get into old Carlsbad, you have some newer ones as you get into this area where you're looking at 70s and 80s. As you get into other areas at Calavera, you're into the 2000s, same as Bresci Ranch is even newer than that. La Costa's, it runs the gamut from a little bit older to a little bit newer. Aviara is somewhat newer as well. So you're going to find a wide range of different homes in different areas to live right here in Carlsbad. Just as a central point, if you've been to Legoland, it's going to sit right smack in the dab between the northern section of Carlsbad and the southern section of Carlsbad. Now, when we're talking about the beaches here in Carlsbad, you're going to have a good stretch of beach. On the north, you have Oceanside. Down to the south, you have Encinitas. Right where we're looking right now is Carlsbad. Starting up here in Carlsbad Village, you're going to have a nice big stretch of beach. So Carlsbad Village is going to be like the downtown area of Carlsbad. If you're going on date nights, you're going out town, you're going to explore, it's likely going to be potentially in this area. But Carlsbad Boulevard going down as you continue down the beach. And as you can see, there's nothing as far as homes until you get to Ocean Street right here. that are right on the beach. So everything is set back a little bit. As you go down, now we're into no houses on the beach. This is one of the only lagoons right here in most of San Diego, at least North County, San Diego, where you could actually use it, where they do have little rentals up here. You could hop in, grab a paddleboard, cruise out there. I mentioned in the last video, there's a hidden beach. I'm going to show you right here, a little hidden beach where you can park at the end of the street. You can have this little beach, see all these paddleboards dialed up right there. You can go fishing out there. Cool spot. Anyways, as you go further south, you're getting into Terramar. This is where you get into a little more bluff fronts. A lot of the parking is just going to be on Carlsbad Boulevard right here. You can see all the cars lined up right that way. You go further south. Here's some more homes, a little area of homes that are right on the beach. Then you get into these cliffs as you are looking further south, going all of the way down where you're going to have cliffs getting until you get to Ponto. Once you get to Ponto, it's going to be one of the easier beaches to access, where you have parking at the north end. You have campgrounds going all through here, which is pretty cool. If you want to go explore, just go check out these campgrounds that are right on the beach. You can pull up your RV or rent RV, or just throw up your tent right on the beach or right on the bluffs above the beach. And then as you go further south, you're getting into South Ponto. This is a nice wide open beach right here. So for coastal living, why is it one of the top coastal living areas? One, you do have all the options for homes. Two, you are a little bit more affordable than areas to the south. So Del Mar's, Solana Beaches, Encinitas is. You're going to be a little bit more pricey than Oceanside directly to the north. But there's enough housing here too, where you're going to find a lot of different areas to live. And Carlsbad also has some of the best parks right here in North County, San Diego. So you're going to find a good area of parks. If you don't want to go to the beach, you want that coastal life, you're also going to have that coastal weather right here in Carlsbad, where you're not too far from the coast. And one other thing about Carlsbad is everywhere you're going to be living in Carlsbad is going to be in that coastal zone, where you're going to have coastal breezes for a lot of the time. Sometimes, back here, it's going to get a little warmer, but it's nothing compared to the Powways or some of the other areas we'll cover in a little bit. But this is definitely one of the top coastal areas. A lot of folks that are thinking about moving out here, as we're going through and we're choosing kind of their wants, needs, likes, goals, this is a big area that a lot of people do end up going to. Now, this next area is going to be the top budget-friendly area near San Diego, and it's going to be to the south. So as we're going from Carlsbad up here, we're going to go down to where you see Santee down here. This is in an area of San Diego called East County. So if you've seen our other videos, it's divided. San Diego is divided into a few different areas. This is going to be East County area. And we'll show you a few unique things about Santee. As far as population goes, there hasn't been a ton of growth here in the past 35 years or so. There's been some new infrastructure put in, that kind of thing. But as far as population, back in 1990, the population was about 52,000. Right now in 2025, it's about 59,000, give or take. So how is Santee set up here? Where you see Carlton Hills, you're going to find a big area of, this is kind of like that Poway area. As far as single family homes, you're going to find a lot of these as we jump into, let's just jump into Street View. And we go into any of these streets in here. Let's just jump in and show you what you're going to be looking like. So you're going to find a bunch of these single family homes in here as well. This is a good little shot too, because as you get to like this East County, as you get a little bit closer to the deserts right here in San Diego, you're going to find a lot of people do enjoy going out to the desert. So they're going to have their desert toys, they're going to have their trailers, they're going to have their dune buggies, they're going to have their quads, all that kind of stuff. And you'll see those throughout different neighborhoods right here in Santee. Not just Santee, but different areas. There's another RV up here, but you're going to find that in this area too. The thing about this is a lot of this neighborhood, a lot of Santee in general, was all built in like the 60s and 70s. So that's kind of the style of home you're going to find out here. A lot of those single family homes, a little bit smaller footprint, not necessarily tiny yards, but not necessarily big as well. Even going into the eastern portions of Santee as well, when you're getting over here, you're going to find a lot of the same style homes. And as the time of making this, a lot of these homes, definitely these smaller homes, are going to be sub-$1 million homes. So even under $900,000 in a lot of cases. So compare that to other areas of San Diego. Definitely in Carlsbad, you're not going to find that. In Poway, you're going to be right on the brink of that. You might have an older home that needs a little bit of work that you're going to find that. Now, a lot of these homes too are not huge homes. They're going to be smaller footprint. So one of the typical styles is like a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, single-story home, less than 1,500 square foot, decent size yard, nothing huge like I mentioned. But you will find some areas of newer construction where you see Weston Park up here. This whole area up on the hill here, where you're going to see Weston Park, this area up here. This is some of the newer construction up here. They have a nice clubhouse. Now that area is going to be a bit more expensive, starting in like the 1.2, 1.3 range, but it is brand new homes. It's perched up a little bit. You can't tell right here, but you do have a little bit of elevation. So you're kind of overlooking the Santee Lakes. This is a cool little amenity to have here too. All these little man-made lakes right here, where you do have some camping at the end over this way. You can go fishing out there. It's a cool little spot just right as you're coming into Santee. And they were trying to grow Santee. It was basically all up in this open space up here. They were trying to build about 3,000 new homes, but one thing that this area is known for, especially as you get back into the hills, they were saying that there was a wildfire risk. So as you get into the hills back here of Santee's and just East counties and all that area, it's just open space. So there's definitely a lot of room out there. So that was one of the reasons that they did shut down that project. It was in the works for a long time, and it was going to be, I think they said 3,000 homes or so. The main kind of area of Santee, you're going to have a cool little central park here where you do have a ton of ball fields at the sports complex. You have the YMCA, more ball fields down here. You do have some summer concerts in the park down this way. So you're going to find that. You're going to find some trails going along the San Diego River down here. You can see all these trails down here. Walker Preserve Trail was a recently done trail as they built out this new little community down this way. But if you are looking budget friendly, this is going to be one of the most budget friendly areas. This is the most budget friendly area that we are going to cover today. As far as location, so some people who are wanting to move out this way, they want to live within 30 minutes of downtown. They want to live within about 30 minutes of the coast. This is going to check basically both of those boxes. So if we're going from Santee and we're going to shoot down to San Diego, let's just go to San Diego. It's going to bring us kind of to that downtown area. You're going to see it's about 24 minutes. So you do have a few freeways. There's main freeway, I guess, east-west would be the 52. You have a few other minor freeways in here. One thing I will mention going home, if you are taking this 52, as you're coming up over this peak right here, you're going to find sometimes you're going to get traffic for sure because it is busy. There's kind of not ends, but it does basically come down to here. So you get some backup. It cuts down to from a lot of lanes to not a lot of lanes. So you're going to definitely get some traffic going down that way. As far as beaches, let's just say you're going to go from Santee to Pacific Beach down in this area right here. See, you're about 30 minutes from there. Now, one thing, as you do go east here in San Diego, it's going to get a bit warmer than other areas. So checking out the weather here in Santee, you can see even in the winters, you're still averaging about 70 degrees in January and December. You're peaking out right here in August, about 88 degrees. But sometimes, obviously, we're looking at the average. Sometimes you're going to get over 100 out here. So just as to be aware, it does get quite a bit warmer in Santee than a lot of the other areas we've covered so far. All right, now going from Santee, we're going back into North County. We're going to jump into the top area that's seen a lot of growth over these past few years. Jumping into San Marcos. San Marcos is split into two different zip codes where you do have north and south. You do have 92069. That's the zip code I grew up in back in the day. And then 92078, that's where Cassidy lives right now. So San Marcos, why has it up and coming? So since I've lived there, well, let's go back a little bit. When I used to live there, it was like a little bit more of a drive-through city. It was a little bit more of a kind of that, small town feel, a little bit more rural. There was a little bit more space. I remember growing up, a ton of fields out there, taking our bikes out there, a bunch of bike jumps. Since then, all the areas that we used to go are all built out for sure. Even as we zoom in here, we see Hollandia Park popping up, and you see the high school right here. Even when I was growing up, was a big cow pasture. So it was just big cow fields out here. So some of this has, obviously, they got the new high school. They got the new park here. There's still a little bit of the, there's still part of the dairy here, Hollandia Dairy right there, where they do still have some production and stuff going on. But a lot of northern San Marcos was actually, a lot of this was already built out, even when I was growing up. There's a lot more open fields. There was a little bit more space, but this is kind of the older section of San Marcos. Now, some newer areas where you do have homes around Twin Oaks. You do have some areas back behind Richland Elementary. Richland Elementary got brand new as well. This whole area up on this hill, it's actually Escondido, but it's called Emerald Heights. That used to be just a hill. That got built as I was growing up too. So nonetheless, the San Marcos has definitely changed. Down this central area right here where you see kind of all this commercial, that's like San Marcos Boulevard right here going up there. That's where you're going to find kind of like, not necessarily downtown, because there's no real downtown San Marcos yet. That's what I think they are currently building and in the works of. But this is where you used to find some restaurants and stuff, but you'll still find some big box stores. You'll still, you have your Best Buys, you have your Home Depots over there. You do have some other stuff. You do have the movie theaters down to the south here still. But this area right here is the new jam that's been going on. So when we were growing up, this whole area, so Craven Road, all down here, this was nothing. This was just a big open hill. Cal State San Marcos was here. This was all just kind of random houses. There was a few homes over here. Now this whole area is called North City. You could see how they already have the roads in here. There's some new construction going on in here. And I think this is going to be the new downtown of San Marcos. So as it's growing, this whole area, especially southern San Marcos, has seen a ton of change. Even in this overhead view, this is all built out now too. There's a big old apartment complex going in here, another one right over this way. This is all graded, obviously you can see that. But down here, there's Mesa Rim. Here's kind of that North City area as you're going through. This is where you're gonna find where it says North City Drive right in the middle here. This is where you're gonna find some of the kind of restaurants and shops, Buena Forqueta right there. You're going to find that just continue as they build on to this area of San Marcos. So this area has just seen a ton of growth over the years. This was not here. Rancho Tesoro was not here. Some of these apartments were not here. This road actually didn't even used to be here when we were growing up. The South Twin Oaks Valley Road. It's a big old road. Not big. It's a steep old road going to the top, going towards San Alejo. So that was built after the southern portion right here was built of San Alejo Hills, as we're coming into right now. This is all San Alejo Hills right here. This is all built in the 2000s. Once again, this was just a big hillside. Now, this is one of the OG master plan communities, kind of like, I think, within the U.S. Actually, it was called Lake San Marcos, or it is called Lake San Marcos, but they made this man-made lake. Now that's been there originally. Now we're seeing some turnover there. So as far as homes, some homes that were older, the 60s style homes people have come in, remodeled, all that kind of stuff. But this area of San Marcos has definitely seen a ton of growth. Now it's still somewhat affordable compared to other areas of San Diego, but as it grows out, there's going to be more homes in here. There's going to be some more restaurants, shops. It's definitely not going to be the drive-through city anymore. It's going to be the drive-to. You even have this whole area too, 78, where easy access going east and west, but you're going to get some congestion going on in there. But with growth comes a little bit of traffic, comes a little bit less space, and that's what we're seeing right here in San Marcos. But I think overall, it's a good thing where you're getting some more restaurant shops, you're getting some more infrastructure, you're getting some areas that used to flood. They're building those out, making that better, more usable, a little bit of trails and stuff going on. So I think San Marcos still has a lot of potential, and it's one of the top spots people are moving to right here in San Diego. Now going from North County, we're going back down to the south. From San Marcos, we're going to go to Chula Vista, which is going to be one of the best suburban living right here near San Diego. I mean, this is about as near to San Diego as you can get right here. And we're specifically talking about the eastern portion of Chula Vista. As you get into here, you get a little more dense. You have a lot more homes that are a little bit closer together. A lot of these neighborhoods have been here for a while. The suburban areas are as you get out to the east, where you're seeing East Lake pop up, where you're seeing Rolling Hills Ranch pop up, where you're going to see Otay Ranch pop up. Here you see the Otay Ranch Town Center. Otay Ranch is one of the bigger communities down here. And so once you get into the suburbs out here, you're going to find a bunch of master plan communities. There's a lot of different master plan communities. You can see all the planned roads in here. You can see a lot of the neighborhoods have their own little parks, have their own little areas, their little shopping centers. There's that main shopping center over that we just showed you earlier. But as you jump into some of these neighborhoods, you're going to find like a lot of this style neighborhood where some of them are like this, where they're a little tighter, where you do have a little bit closer, you know, these are like, this area is like early 2000s. And a lot of this area too is going to be that kind of time frame, early 2000s, late 90s. But you're going to find a lot of these where a lot of the homes look the same, but it's going to be newer. You're going to find a little bit bigger footprints in a lot of these spaces. Like I mentioned, a lot of the areas are going to have little community parks going on. As you go right across here, this is where one of the newer shopping centers, as they were building all this out, you have the Otay Ranch Town Center. So it's like this big, it's a town center, but it's kind of more like an outdoor mall. And you're going to find some of the bigger box stores in here. As you go into here, drive down the middle here. So get a good idea of what you're looking at here. This is kind of the vibe you're going to get throughout this area of Chula Vista. So it is newer, which is great. The price points are going to be a little bit more than you're going out to the Santee areas. But if you go like square footage to square footage, you're going to find a little bit more square footage here. You're going to find a little bit newer in general, especially if you go to these eastern parts of Chula Vista. And just some points of interest out here as you go down to the south. Actually, real quick, there is some new construction going on too. You're going to find a few of these newer communities out here. So down to the south, right in here, you can see it all graded, getting ready to be built. I think a lot of this is actually built out already, so just not in the satellite view. But as the street view here, you can see it's getting ready to be built out here. It's kind of that same style. A little bit more of that, the first neighborhood we checked out, where it's going to be a little tighter in here. As you get up on the hill, there's different neighborhoods, there's different builders, so you could find a few different options in this little section as well. But one other thing down here, you're going to find North Island Credit Union. This is we used to call it Coors Amphitheater. It was also Cricket Wireless Amphitheater, but you get some big acts coming in here, so you're going to get a bunch of shows. Parking going in and out, kind of a pain in the butt, but because there's only like 2 ways in and out, but super fun. You get some grass seats up here, cruise around. It's a really cool little venue down here in this Chula Vista section. Right next door, you have Sesame Place. So it used to be a water park. They just recently redid all this to make it a Sesame Street theme. I haven't been down there yet, but that's right down there. Right to the east a little bit, you have the Olympic Training Center. Let's see if we could find it in here. It's going to be popping up right there. So you'll see a lot of athletes and stuff go actually train out here. I mean, it's a huge complex. They have all kinds of different structures and different fields and different areas and all kinds of stuff down there. So there is some bigger amenities going on in there, but as you look back into the neighborhoods, you're going to find more East Lakes. You're going to find more Otay Ranches. That's a lot of this section over here in Chula Vista. So huge suburban area right here in San Diego. And now a top hidden gem. And if you guys want some more hidden gems, that's not this one, got to reach out because we got your back when making the move here to San Diego. We could dive in, figure out what you're looking for, figure out what you're searching for, and help you find not only these cities, but specific neighborhoods within these cities to help get you dialed in. But we're going back to North County. There's going to be a little hidden gem right here that is near San Diego, but not San Diego. We're talking about Vista. A lot of people who reach out, they're looking in some of these other areas. Sometimes we'll mention Vista to them. Now it's a different style living as far as some little areas are a little bit rural. The southern portion's a little bit more of that tract neighborhood. So you get a good mix of both things. But downtown Vista, just starting out where you see downtown right here, right off Vista Village. This is where you're going to find some of the growth that's been happening here. As you go down South Santa Fe, this is where they've been building out and doing a lot of improvement in this area of Vista. A lot of North Vista is similar to that style that you'll find over in the Santee, where you're going to find a lot of single family homes, a lot of single story homes, a lot of those older homes, especially as you get into the foothills. But one of the benefits of the foothills, as you get out into the foothills over here, so you have the 78 freeway down this way. As we're going into the foothills, you're going to find a little bit more space between properties. My brother actually lives out here, and I think he has about 1/3 of an acre, but there's no real master plan. You'll find a little infill communities here and there, so there might be like 10, 15, 20 little homes that were built out on a parcel. But most of it's going to be a lot of these single family homes where you have larger yards, you do have some space, you do even have some like growing grounds and stuff out there still. But these are all also like back roads back here too, so you're not going to get a ton of traffic going back there. So if you want a little bit of quiet, you want a little bit more bang for your buck too, because price points are still a little bit more than Santee's, so it's not the most budget friendly, but it is still more budget friendly than a lot of other, I'm going to call it semi-coastal areas right here in San Diego. Because you're looking right here, the next city over is Oceanside. Down to the south is going to be Carlsbad. And so you're actually not too far from the coast in the whole scheme of things. You're right in the center of North County, San Diego. As you go to the southern portion of Vista, this is where you're going to find a lot of track neighborhoods. This is an area called Shadow Ridge, all centered around this golf course right here, which is actually a country club, so it's not open to the public, but it is if you wanted a house on a golf course, if you want that golf course view or any sort of view, this could be an area you could find it too. But just dropping down into one of these streets, give you a little idea. You're going to find a lot of these streets or a lot of these areas have their own little HOA. So Shadow Ridge has its own HOA, and then you'll find little HOAs within each area. But as we jump into here, so HOA is just going to be basically taken care of. You're going to have that little pool area. This isn't a great picture, but nonetheless, you can get a little idea of what to expect right here in Vista. And we'll throw up some drone footage and some other footage just that's a little prettier than that footage we just showed you right there. Let me just drop into here, see if we could get a little bit better idea of the homes right here in this section of Vista. So you can see, it won't let us go down this road right here, but older homes, you do have some two-story, you have some single-story, but once again, kind of all that same style in the foothills. You're not going to find too much character in this little area, but as far as living somewhat coastal, where you're still getting some of those coastal climate, some of those coastal breezes, but you're not breaking the bank. That's why it's going to be a hidden gem right here in San Diego. And if you want to know the pros and cons of the best coastal area we covered, go check out that next video popping up where we dive into the good, the bad, and the ugly about living in Carlsbad, California.